Well, one of those teams that have been dragged in alongside Cardiff are Burnley. 4 straight defeats at the weekend, a real kick in the teeth. 10-man Leicester. What's happened? They look like they turned things around.
They had a good run, didn't they? And Sean Dyche talking about, you know, they got the mojo back, they've got their Burnley back, that aggressive feel. I mean, it wasn't so long ago that they beat Spurs, and you thought, you know, here we go. But they've had that run, and they're still in a lot of trouble. So Sean Dyche will be worried, I think.
Well, especially, like you said, they had a bit of a purple patch, but there's a reason they were in that place to begin with, and that seems to have returned a little bit. And, you know, there's nobody more measured, more experienced to get them out of that than Sean Dyche.
The start of the season's coming back to haunt them, isn't it? Because the whole thing with the Europa League...
Well, they can't afford too many drop-offs. But they put themselves in such trouble early on. You then have to go on a perfect run to get out of it, and that's not going to be the case. And I think you just have to stop the rot again.
I mean, it's not rocket science, but it's surprising because it's a Sean Dyche team just conceding too many goals. 59. Only Fulham have conceded more, and they're also not particularly free scoring at the other end either.
No,
but it's that goals against I think most people find so surprising.
Last season, a lot of their wins were 1-0, weren't they? It went for them. They were keeping clean sheets. They were nicking goals. I mean, Ashley Barnes and Chris Wood had a spell where they were scoring all the goals for Burnley, but Moore have got to chip in. And the defenders, their confidence would have taken a hit, there's no doubt about it. Whereas before, the likes of me and Tarkowski, you know, they had a great partnership. They knew where each other were in relation to the full-backs. And now, you know, there's that uncertainty in the ranks when you're conceding goals. It happens.
Maybe not enough depth in that area, and maybe lacked a bit of competition, I think, at the beginning of the season. And sometimes you need that. You can't. It's really, really difficult to repeat what you've done the year before. And I think that losing their defensive stability, I think, has been the biggest problem this year.
I mean, to go from qualifying for Europe to getting relegated would be some come down. You know, you hope for Burnley's sake. They've been a great success story, haven't they, to survive and to prosper on such a small budget with such astute management and the lads giving it their all most weeks when it's going well. But you've only got to drop off that 5% because they haven't got the quality. It tells, doesn't it? Have
you ever been in the scenario where your team's going through a really bad run? Where what's your do you have a standard method of trying to lift them again? What do you do?
Well, you have to get to the root of the problem first. And sometimes that's the hardest thing, to know what it is. Is it you don't score enough goals or you're conceding too many? So you've got to get to that. Once you get to that, it's back to fundamentals. You've got to get the basics right. And if you don't get that right... And I often find with pressure... comes lack of confidence, and trying to remove all of that when you're in a difficult spell means that you have to simplify things. I learnt that from this season, especially coming back from having a baby. I was all over the place. I didn't help my team with that, so we started the season poorly. And in fact, my captain said to me, "You're tired, and we need to get you back to your best." And one of the things I had to do was to really just simplify everything I was doing, and that really helped the team. It really just gave us the solid platform. We went 11 games unbeaten from that point on, and I've really learnt from that and know that, you know, it's easy to do more. It's easy to say we need to do more. In fact, the opposite happens, and I think Burnley will have the camaraderie there. They'll have the spirit. They'll have to tap into that, because if their confidence is affected, ultimately they're going to need each other to get through it.
I mean, they've got some tough games as well. When you look at their remaining fixtures, Alan, there is, you know, there's no gimmies anywhere in the Premier League anyway, is there?
No, no.
But I'm not sure when you look at that, if you're a Burnley fan, if you're more concerned about the other teams, I mean, Cardiff, obviously, is a huge game for them, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, the next 3 are huge when you look at the last 4. Ideally, in this situation, you want to be playing against teams that aren't playing anything for anything in the middle of the table, but
I mean, Wolves, as we know, they're on fire at the moment.
Yeah.
Bournemouth at home is a difficult game. Sorry, Bournemouth away, but when Bournemouth are at home, they're a good side. Well,
you know, Dyche will look at that, the players will look at it, and when you're losing games, you're leaking goals, they're not going to feel confident about going into any of those matches. It's going to be a scrap, and got. You mentioned togetherness, and that's always been a strength at Turf
And
Moor,
one
sticking
game
together,
at a time.
working for each other.
Because if you start looking at those bottom 4 games, you think we're in trouble here. One game at a time, one foot in front of the other.
I mean, you look at the bottom of the Premier League table, it is so tight at the bottom. When you look at those, you look at them there, I don't think any of those managers will be sleeping easily at the moment, will they?
No, no. They've all had little spells. I mean, Southampton did under Hasenhüttl, and look where they are. So you just can't take anything for granted. At one stage, it looked like Palace had just eased away from it. I mean, 5 points above the drop zone. A nice little cushion there for Roy Hodgson. Same for Brighton. But you can't take anything for granted. Lose a couple of games on the trot and you can sink a couple of places easily.
How many do you think you need to be safe, points-wise, Emma, looking at that?
That's a tough one. I think it's probably going to be...
35?
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of the lowest
one,
numbers of Premier League history. I think, much as it is in terms of the points total to win the league, I think you're going to see polar opposites. I think either way, grinding out, you look at the last 8 games, Cardiff in that position, you know, they're going to have to get at least 7, 8 to...
Just one more win. Sorry to talk across you. Just one more win for Brighton Palace, you think will see them safe?
I think you need more than 35.
I think at a bare minimum you need 35. When you look at Cardiff on 28, you know, there are 7 points in the last 8 games.
How many times have we seen it now? Desperation comes in, you throw everything at it. Cardiff are capable of it.
Well,
We've seen it.
Even if you take that, Cardiff need 3 wins at a bare minimum to get to a point where they can compete to get out of it. They've still got to win their game in hand. Brighton, I think they will get out of it, especially with that 2 games in hand against Burnley. I think Burnley look very vulnerable right now.
Hard to call.
What gets you out of that at the end of it? Is it grit? Is it resolve?
No,
is it camaraderie?
Fight. Yeah, camaraderie plays a big part.
Luck.
Maybe a little bit of luck at a vital time in a match. You just scramble one in on the 89th minute and then you gain a bit of belief and get a point or 3 in the next match and you're off and running. But
you need enough belief to get out of it, that's for certain. I think the team that manages to stay the distance will, because it will be up and down all the way through.
Do you also need the same as you need perhaps at the top end of the table for the title?
Absolutely.
Bit of bottle.
The
Simple
amount
as
of
that.
times when I've won titles, it's hit the underside of the bar and gone over the line, or on the inside of the post and in it goes, and then the following year it hits the other side of the post. It's, no, hands down, it goes in both directions.
Well, let's hope that it goes right to the wire. I mean, it looks like it's going to go right to the wire at the top, battle for top 4 and the bottom, doesn't it? So...
Well, for us on Sky, it's a perfect scenario. We're willing it to go to the last day.
Torture for everybody else, but we love it.